Now let's go over to Monique, who's going to cushion the blow of fall with a soft seasonal DIY. Now, Mo, this project has comfy, cozy written all over it. But before we get started, here's a list of what you'll need for this project. 2 meters of stretchy velvet fabric. You need a needle, some quality nylon thread, a ruler, scissors, fiber fill, and a button cover kit, but that is optional. That'll just take it to the next level. All right, Mo, how do we start?
Yeah, I really love this project because I tend to have neutral decor in my space, and so this is a great way to add some color. And so we're working with velvet and the stretchy velvet, and this is because it makes it easier when you're stuffing your pillow. It stretches out, and it also helps with your gathering, which I'll show you in a minute. But with these fabrics coming in a variety of different lengths and widths, for this particular project, I would suggest a 1:3 ratio. So for this particular pillow, this is about 25 inches in diameter. And so you want to get about 75 inches in fabric. So that's your length right there. All right, so your first step would be to go ahead and fold your fabric over. I would advise to kind of give it a little bit of a shake to loosen it up a bit.
Okay, so once you've done the folding and you've got it perfectly measured, what's your next step, Mo?
Okay, so your next step will be to start sewing. So this is where the fun starts, right? So you're going to take your needle and your thread, and I suggest using a strong nylon thread. And this is because you're working with a cushion, there's going to be some tension on there, and also for your gathers that you're going to be working with. And so you want to go ahead and sew a running stitch just along the fabric, straight along, and then you're going to make like a tube, right? Running it along and pulling, and you're going to go along. If you have a sewing machine, you could do that at home as well. I like using my hands just because it gets the stitches really closely, and then you can make them actually a little bit bigger because again, you're working with this velvet, so it just makes it a little bit easier for you to handle. And so once you get that done, you have it into that tube shape.
Okay, cool. So you've got your tube done, and now what do you have to do next?
Okay, now this is the most exciting part, is your gathers. And so this is where you're going to get that effect there in the middle. You go ahead and again, do the running stitches along the edge about 1/4 inch from the top of your hem. And as you go along, you can pull, and then you will start to see those gathers starting to form.
Okay, so I feel like this is the part in the DIY where I tell everyone to pay attention.
Yes, this I would say is the most labor intensive part, but you know, you're gonna get a little bit of a break, but we're gonna have to return back to this gathering again. So you just gotta be aware of that.
Before we get back to doing the gathering again, what's the step in between?
Okay, so now we start filling our pillow. So here you have your gathering, right? And you stitch that in, you get that, you tie that tightly. And a tip that I have as well, when you're tying your gathers, that you pinch it because you're really pulling that tension. And then you may have experienced this before where you're pulling something, you want to get a knot in, but then you kind of loosen it and then it gets loose. It's best for you to just pinch it at the end and then tie it. If you have somebody around with you, they can also assist in tying it, but that's a little hint that I have. But then you get your fill and you just start stuffing it into the pillow. I got this from my local craft store. And you know what, if you have some fabric scraps laying around, you can actually also use those fabric scraps. And for this, it was about 20 ounces of fill that I've used. So here we have it. We have one filled, we have that one side, and then we have our other side that's opened up with our fill inside.
Okay, now that looks like the fun part because you really start to see the cushion taking shape.
So now we are back to our gathers. So we are again doing that running stitch around. And in terms of measuring, when you're measuring your thread, just measure the length and double it so that you don't run out of thread when you're doing your stitch. But again, eventually when you pull it, it will come together like so. And so you're going to go ahead and get that in there like that. And then you again tie it off. Don't cut it yet. What you will do, you're going to next put your button on. And this is where I found this neat little tool. So this is a button cover kit, and it actually comes with this little rubber plastic, if you will. And then what you do is you put your fabric inside, you put the top of the button on top of it, and then you push it in, and then it kind of forces it to close almost like a little shell. And then you put the back of the button on top, and then it has this little cap that you just go ahead and you press. Get that in there pretty tight because the velvet is a thick fabric, so you really want to press and get that in. And then you go ahead and pop that button right out, and there you have a perfectly covered button. Then what you do is you take your needle and your thread from your gathering that you did, you push the needle through the pillow, through the bottom, and again, be careful because you don't want to poke yourself, and push that needle all the way through, boom, and then you go ahead and loop your needle through your button like so, and then you go ahead and pull, give it that tug, push it through again to the bottom, and then you do that a few times and you keep on pulling through, and then that's where you get that almost that donut shape in the middle. You see where I'm pulling there? You'll get that donut shape in the middle, and you are good to go. You have your cushion.
Monique, that looks so good. It looks so cozy, so comfy. By the way, loving the micro braids. I know they're getting in your way, but they look so good, so it's worth it. You've got the Aaliyah look going on. I love it. Very nice.
I know. I'm like, oh.
Thank you.